companions await. One place stands as their beacon of hope. The Pet Resource Center of Hillsborough County, where you can adopt your very own superhero. Adopt a dog. Find your sidekick and unlock the power of unconditional love. Suit up, show up, and adopt today. For more information, visit hcfl.gov/pets. Getting where you need to go shouldn't be a struggle. That's why Hillsborough County offers Sunshine Line, a transportation service for residents who need a little extra help. If you have no mode of transportation, you may qualify for Sunshine Line's door-to-door service based on age, disability, or income. For those who live in the Hart service area, you may be eligible for an income-based bus pass program. Sunshine Line's trained drivers provide safe, shared rides, helping you to and from the vehicle and making sure you're secured every step of the way. Scheduling is simple. Just call 813-272-7272 to see if you qualify and start your application process today. Sunshine Line is here to keep you moving safely, affordably, and with a smile. Visit hcfl.gov/Sunshine Line to learn more and get started today. Sunshine Line, Hillsborough's ride on the bright side.
Don't let mosquitoes ruin your day. Fight the bite by removing standing water on your property. Standing water of any kind is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Do your part and help reduce the mosquito population.
Visit hcfl.gov/fightthebite.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the November 10th meeting of the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization. So If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Desiano, would you please call the roll?
Ross,
Here.
Wostel,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Cohen,
Here.
Bowles,
Here.
Councilmember Clendenin excused, Hurtak, here, Carlson, Kilton, here, Gray, here, Klug, here. Mr. Stevens is excused, Slater, here, Hartfield,
Present.
Joseph,
Here.
you have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Desiano. So before we get to business, I do think it's important for us to acknowledge the tragic crash that happened the other night, and senseless crash that happened in Ybor City the other night. Tragically took the lives of 4 innocent people and injured at least 11 others seriously. And so I know that everybody in this room serves on this board because we are passionate about transportation safety, and yet something like this comes along that you really you can't design safe roads around this kind of behavior. And so if you are a member of the community that's affected by this, or a family member or a friend of these people, I want you to know that this whole body, I think I speak for everybody here, our thoughts and prayers are with you. This is a senseless tragedy that has no place in our community. And so anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And so, board members, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes of our October 8th meeting? And if so, is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hartfield, seconded by Commissioner Wastel. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. Next, we have public comment. Up to 3 minutes per speaker. I think we have one person signed up, Mr. Rick Fernandez, I believe is online. Mr. Fernandez, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that. And thank you for those comments about the Ybor City tragedy. That's very near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate the thought. By way of introduction, Rick Fernandez out of Tampa Heights. I do serve on your CAC, but in this moment, I'm speaking to you individually as a CAC member, but this is not my chair's report. And I'm commenting on action item 7 alpha. It's the letter of comment letter that is on your action item list. It's a page and a half long, barely. And it took well over an hour, nearly an hour and a half, I think, of our CAC time last week, which is to say there are a lot of people that had some very strong feelings about the items in this letter, more so than I can communicate here in 3 minutes or even as a chair report. But I do recommend that you might want to take a look at the video of that discussion, or at least talk to your CAC appointee and try to get a sense of the public sentiment regarding the items in this letter. Having said that, for my purposes here, I'll concentrate on 3 things in the brief time I have. First, process. Second, the history regarding lane management strategies. And third, the withdrawal of financial support for the Tico Line streetcar. On process, very briefly, this letter is presented to the CAC as a fait accompli. That's been the case as far back as I can recall, certainly last year and again this year. And by that I mean, when the letter comes to us for approval and recommendation, essentially it's already chiseled in stone, not really subject to much, if anything, in the way of editing. I find that as a member of the CAC highly objectionable. And I would suggest that there be a revisiting of that process so the letter, when it comes to us, is at an earlier stage and still subject to some editing and some inclusion of our thoughts in the letter. Second, history regarding lane management strategies. The bottom of page 1 and top of page 2 relates to lane management strategies for Interstate 4 and 275. Historically, I want the board to recognize that City of Tampa City Council resolved some years ago that there not be toll lanes through the City of Tampa. This was litigated at City Council. It was litigated also and discussed at the TPO board. However, the constitution of this board has changed, as has City Council since then. So I want to make sure that that historical perspective does not get lost. And there is a reason why that is included in this letter. It has a historical line back to that discussion. Finally, withdrawal of financial support for the Tico Line streetcar. This is the epitome of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it stinks. We have, during various meetings over the last few weeks and months, talked about $400 million for extension of Interstate 275 to Beers, extension of I-4 now $500 million, and suddenly the streetcar winds up being the orphan child.
Okay.
That is, I hope you understand the frustration associated with that, and I hope there's further discussion about it. That's all I have. My time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Okay, next up, we have committee reports and advance comments. Mr. Fernandez, you are recognized in your capacity as the CAC Chair.
Thank you, sir. As I change my hat, I appreciate it. Again, Rick Fernandez, Chair of your Citizens Advisory Committee. The CAC met on November 5th, 2025. We easily met quorum. Several new members on the committee. So for those of you who have recently appointed, thank you very much for being responsive to our staffing needs. The CAC acted on 2 items. The first was the TPO letter of comment, and which is on your action item list and that I just got done talking about, and also the 2026 draft meeting calendar. FDOT and FTE staff presented their work programs. CAC members asked questions on several topics, including the removal of funding for the streetcar extension, why more projects are not shown for South County, and questions on the process, such as where funding is moved once deferred or removed. There was extensive discussion on the ability of FTE to apply their funds to transit and other modes beyond capacity projects, and on the clarification of, quote, managed lanes. Ultimately, the CAC voted 9-7 that the letter of comment include a request that the Florida Turnpike Authority look into how it can fund or accommodate non-SOV, single occupancy vehicle transportation modes. Following that motion, a second motion passed 14-2, recommending the TPO board transmit the letter of comment. TPO staff presented the 2026 draft meeting calendar. The CAC unanimously approved that meeting calendar for 2026. CAC members also heard status reports on HART's Transit Development Plan, annual progress report, and on intersection collision avoidance safety, which I think you'll be seeing today. It was very entertaining. That presenter was, he did a particularly good job for us late in the meeting. We appreciated it. Both presentations were well received. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to stand for them. And if not, I appreciate your courtesy and time.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Board members, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, sir.
Harmony McGee from our TPO staff is here to report. Good morning, Ms. McGee.
Good morning, Harmony McGee, TPO staff. Regarding today's action item, the Technical Advisory Committee recommended that the TPO board transmit the letter of comment on the FDOT and FTE tentative work programs with the comments from the Technical Advisory Committee. It was suggested that the letter note the deferral of the State Route 60 project along with the other projects identified as higher priorities. The committee also requested that future communications provide clarification on how and why projects are deferred or advanced within the work program. Questions were raised regarding the deferred projects and when they might be rescheduled. TPO staff explained that several projects were moved within a 10-year time frame, while others had to be deferred further out. Additional discussion took place regarding the HART project description and the allocation of funding for both operational and capital expenditures. It was noted by the TAC that some streetcar funding had been removed. However, staff clarified that FDOT continues to coordinate with the City of Tampa to identify financial needs. Public comments were received via email and social media. Rudy Cordell emailed expressing support for improvements at the intersection of Sun Lake Boulevard and Lutz Lake Fern Road. On Facebook, Pedal Power promoters commented on our repost of Tampa General Hospital's e-bike injury report, emphasizing the importance of considering poorly designed safety systems as contributing factors to e-bike crashes, rather than placing full accountability on users. Additional comments received on X advocated for the development of light rail. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Board members, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Waspel, seconded by Commissioner Miller? Second. Myers seconded, okay. Seconded by Commissioner Myers. Any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next item is FDOT and FTE Tentative Work Program fiscal year 27 through 31 and TPO letter of comment. Elizabeth Watkins, our TPO staff, will report.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. So to set the context, this will be a three-part presentation. First, we'll hear from our colleagues at DOT, then Turnpike to discuss their work programs. And then the action for you today is that actual letter of comment. So I'll close that out. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Suzanne Ziegler to review the FDOT Tentative Work Program.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to come and present this. I want to make sure that I understand correctly. So to move this forward.
You just use the arrows.
Oh, use the arrow. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I want to make sure I'm not messing anything up. So, okay, Suzanne Ziegler, Government Liaison for District 7. It's that time of year again, and it's the Tentative Work Program presentation that we have for you guys. This is an accelerated cycle, so normally you would see us come in December, but because it's accelerated, it's fast-tracked every other year, and so we're here a little bit earlier. So for this presentation, we're going to be talking about fiscal year 27 through 31. So currently, we are operating in fiscal year 26. So the 5-year process is 26 to 30, and it is a 5-year plan that covers a wide variety of projects. We have transportation planning, right-of-way, construction activities, transit, seaport, rail projects, and so that now, so just as a reminder, every year on June 30th, the current year of the work program ends, and July 1st, year 2 is going to move up to be the new year. So right now, this is where we're at currently. So we're in the tentative work program, which I'm going to present on the projects, and so we're only going to outline fiscal year 27 through 31. This will go to the legislator later this year and then to the governor for review and signature. Once the governor signs, then the first year is included in the state budget and the work program is considered adopted. So that will be July 1st, 2026. So just a few key items. I know we go over this every time we come to you guys, but again, we have a programming strategy. We look to first preserve the existing program. So, we look at those cost estimates, something that's already programmed in those 5 years. We're going to look to make sure that those are funded and fully funded so that we can move forward and give you the project that we had promised previously. Second, we would look to fund any new phase of a project, whether we've already invested in it. So we're going to continue to invest in it, look at it, see, do they have enough time? Can we move to the next phase? And items like that. And then we would look to add any new projects. And again, with our programming strategy, we're looking at the MPO's list of priority projects, regional priorities, which would be the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance priority list, and then FDOT and CIS priorities as well. So again, just a little caveat, the projects in this presentation, we just Want to make sure that everybody understands that these are new projects added, these are newly funded project phases, maybe a project that was deferred or something that we know you guys are interested in, so it's a project of interest. If I don't mention a project, that just means that there was no change and that project is moving forward. So first up for planning. Planning dollars were allocated in fiscal year 31 to the TPO so that they can continue to move forward with the planning. Transit, we had a few. We were able to allocate to the phase 2 of the HART maintenance facility in 31, and then the annual allocation off of the LOP for the HART capital repairs and bus stop improvements. And then as discussed earlier, today, City of Tampa streetcar extension was removed. We are in ongoing discussions with City of Tampa and working to figure out with them. They're working on something. They're going to come back. We're committed to doing the project. We're just trying to find another mechanism to do it. So more information as the time goes on with that. Operation projects, we had a few auxiliary lanes that were removed. As you can see here, the first 2 were removed from the work program, with the last one, I-4, from east of Bethlehem to west of Branch Forks. That one was actually accelerated, so it advanced design in 26 and construction was advanced to 27. Another operation slide. As you can see here, Plant City, East Alexander at Jim Johnson, a rail phase was added in 28 to get this project, keep the project schedule going. We also were able to move forward with getting a signal at 56 in Druid Hills. And then also the intersection improvement for North 56 at 113th Avenue. So for capacity, we had a few projects. I-275 from north of Howard Franklin to north of Lois, add lanes and reconstruct. The construction was deferred out to fiscal year 30. State Road 574, MLK from east of Kingsway to east of McIntosh was removed from the work program. And then also the right-of-way was removed from I-4 west of I-75 northbound ramp to east of Mango. I-275 from north of Lois to Howard, or to north of Howard. The right-of-way was removed from this project during this phase as it was determined that it was not needed. State Road 60 from Valrico to east of Dover. The construction has been deferred outside of the 5-year work program, so it is beyond the 31. We're hoping to bring that in next go-round. We did move forward with adding the Scott Street from North Morgan to North Jefferson Street. Design will be in 29, construction in 30. And then I-4 from I-75 to County Line Road, construction was added in fiscal year 28. So we had a few urban corridor improvements that shifted around. Highland Avenue and Lois Avenue were deferred out in order to maneuver the need for the right-of-way to be addressed on Bush. That's a longstanding project that we've committed to and trying to keep on schedule. I believe that the construction is in 27, so we identified right-of-way was needed at the last moment. There was some changes. So the other 2 projects coordinated with Johnny, the City of Tampa, to make sure that Bush stayed on the current route and is able to be going to construction, and we can deliver on that one. So East Hannah from 22nd to 30th, construction was added in 31. And then in regards to bike ped, Bullard Parkway at Broadway Avenue Crosswalk, you'll see it says removed from the construction, or construction's removed from the work program. That project is still moving forward. The county has stepped in and is going to be doing that with their local funds, so we had to kind of pull it back out of here. And then Fowler from 56 to east of I-75 was deferred until fiscal year 23. Upper Tampa Bay Trail, we were very excited to receive the construction funding for Sun Trail in fiscal year 31. And then also the Plant City Canal Connector Trail Phase 1, we are moving forward with design in fiscal year 31. And then Hillsborough sidewalk gaps on the state highway system, we were able to add some funding for the design and construction in fiscal year 31. This is a high-level overview of the resurfacing projects that we have currently in D7. We do have a document for distribution to the board. I'm not sure if Elizabeth or Johnny had included it, but we do have it with the breakdown as to where they are and all of that for the board to review and get back to us or ask any questions. So miscellaneous projects, US 41 at CSX grade, separation, State Road 674 from the north to the south, or sorry, south to the north. That was deferred out of the current work program, the 5-year work program. We're committed to going ahead and trying to implement and move that in next cycle as well. State Road 60 from west of North 34th to east of North 34th, construction was added in fiscal year 28. Okay, hold on. Sorry, technical issues. Okay, so total over 5 years, $1.5 billion. And it's broken down in their respective categories. Again, I think I say this every time that I give this presentation based on the way that our system works. Sometimes the bike ped or the safety isn't accurate because it might be rolled up under a capacity job. It might be with a resurfacing job. So we do like to offer that information. And then unfortunately, because this is a accelerated cycle, the online public hearing was October 20th through the 24th. November 3rd was when public comment was due. November 11th is the MPO objections are due. Early spring 2026 is when the legislator is going to review this, and then adoption would be July 1st. So I know this says public comments, but we're taking your comments in form of MPO objections, and Johnny and his team have prepared the letter for discussion amongst you. We do always like to end on a safety note. So again, with some things that have been going on around, various projects and people need to pay attention to, who's walking, who's, staying alert, whether you're the pedestrian, whether you're, the vehicle. And so we just, urge everyone to stay visible and alert when walking outside. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. On page 10, you talked about losing the funding for the streetcar, and just, I think, for the public, if you could explain why we're losing that funding.
Okay, so I can give a piece. Yeah, because I think there's two aspects.
Yeah, the predominant thing is that, the legislature last session in their updated budget, why is this a lot of feedback? Eliminated the New Starts program, which is where the funding was coming from for the streetcar. So anytime you do that, we lose the program, we lose the funding, and lose the budget. A lot of the money that goes to a project like that is very specific. So a lot of the funding that I have in other buckets I can't use for a project like that. So right now what we've been trying to do, and Councilmember Clendon has been talking with us, and we've had conversations with staff, is trying to find another way for us to help fund that project. So.
Yeah, I just wanted the public to understand, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then I have a question about the West Shore interchange project being deferred.
No, so, okay, and the West Shore Interchange project has 3 FPIDs, so it's 3 projects in one. So when we went out and selected it, we used a procurement method called a phase design build. And so the contractor basically came back and said, hey, this is how the project's going to be built. Like these are the phases of the project. The money as it was programmed did not coincide with the phases of the project based on construction. So we're just moving the money around for it to cash flow based on how the contractor is saying it will be built. So that's more just an accounting practice than anything.
Again, I just want to appreciate the clarification because I know the public is very interested. I did get a chance to actually bike around the area with one of your consultants and to see the new bike ped infrastructure that will be a part of that, and everyone's very excited. So, and then I have one question one comment for staff. Given that this went out to the public in October, it would have been nice if we had received this information in the October meeting. If nothing else, just the presentation document so that we could share with the public and then also provide our input before the letter was written. It feels just a little rushed. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other questions, board members? I don't see any. If there are no other questions, is there a motion to approve the letter? No.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Oh, I don't have that. Okay. So I think there's further presentation on this that I wasn't aware of.
Thank you.
So thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. One more before you can approve that.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Katina Cavacles. I am the Turnpike Planning Manager, and I just wanted to thank all of you for the opportunity to present the tentative work program for fiscal year 2027 through 2031. In Hillsborough County, Turnpike is proposing to invest $277 million within the next 5 years. Florida's Turnpike Enterprise consists of 515 miles of limited access facility, which provides Florida residents, visitors with a safe, efficient, and affordable means of travel. We are in all 7 districts and 21 counties, and as you can see in Hillsborough County, we have 20 miles of our facility. This next slide is our investments in your community, or our toll dollars at work. As you can see, we have the Veterans Expressway emergency stop sites, which provides refuge areas for emergency responders. That project started in September of 2024 and was completed in July of this year. Construction costs were $4.8 million. The second project we'd like to showcase was the wrong-way driving technology implementation. As always, safety is paramount from DOT. It's part of our mission. So we have put warning systems along most of our ramps on Veterans Expressway. That project started May 2022 and ended in December, and the cost was approximately $10.8 million. This next slide shows our major investments. Page 1 has the completed or underway projects. Page 4 describes the construction that is funded within the next 5 years, and page 8 has our projects but they're not funded for construction yet. So if you recall last year, I was here and so was the team, and we talked about a wonderful thing called the PD&E. Well, the PD&E is over, and this is the result from that. So this is the widening project from south of Van Dyke to north of Lake Lutz Fern Road. And as you can see, we have funding for environmental design, right-of-way, and construction in 3031. Funding is for $277 million. And these are some of our other projects that are not funded for construction, but obviously for design. The first part is the next phase of the widening projects for Suncoast, north of Lake Lutz Fern Road to the Pasco County line, and then some of our resurfacing projects. And with that, I do apologize, we didn't upgrade our safety message, but safety is in everything that we do, and we did want to dedicate and address the high rate of car crashes among our teens, and so this is prevalent, and we did want to reinforce that today. And with that, I take any questions.
Very good, thank you. Board members, other questions? Councilmember Hurtak.
We heard from our CAC chair this morning about the possibility for, it sounded like leaving space for transit. And so since I have both of you here, could you speak a little bit to that?
We are very aware of the transit concerns in this area, and actually, we looked at your LRTP. You have a regional, Suncoast Parkway will be hitting US 19 in about 4 years. It's an 83-mile regionally significant corridor. Along with that, as we were constructing, we listened to our locals and built the trail. But we are not operators, and so for that, we piggyback with our local district when it comes to transit funding. We are statutorily limited to just do the job we're meant to do. But we work very well together. And so if there's a concern, we pass it on to the district, and then HART, PCPT, those transit agencies can then apply for potentially whatever grants are available. And so I would hate to obligate the district or them us, but I re-listened to the tape, and unfortunately, that is not the function of the Florida Turnpike Enterprise. We cannot fund transit. We leave that up to our district family.
It seemed like the question was more about securing space.
That's exactly was my question.
And so I can't weigh in on the Suncoast and veterans, but I can tell you, like, the I-4 project that was announced, like, we're still preserving the corridor, the median corridor for Brightline or whatever mode of premium transit would come in the I-4 corridor. Same thing on the West Shore Interchange. We designed the West Shore Interchange for transit to operate in the median. Obviously, also in the express lanes, transit vehicles can operate for free in the express lanes. So, I mean, we're accommodating transit vehicles everywhere. And I believe the same thing on the Turnpike system. Transit vehicles operate for free on the transit system. So I think it's being offered there. Now, as far as like dedicated space on the Suncoast or veterans, I haven't heard of a dedicated corridor for transit.
Yeah, you would have to propose something in the future.
Yeah.
So, but I think the point that they're getting at is a good one, of if we're building these, and that's totally fine. We need to expand, we need to do that, but can we save part of the envelope for a future? Because it seems like that would be the perfect place to put a train at some point.
But yeah, so just so you know, I mean, I-4, I-275, that corridor's preserved.
Yeah.
So it's preserved.
Definitely, but I think the conversation was a good one, and it would be wrong for me to not bring it up and say, hey, what are the steps we would need to do to preserve space, since we don't have a lot of turnpike in this area.
Yeah, and one thing, this is a larger conversation for a separate meeting, but that's also where the conversation needs to be between that and the CSX line that everyone talks about. So it really needs to be kind of determined where we want to be, so that then we can kind of work around how we want to build it out. So
Exactly. Well, it's just one of those things that, thinking forward, and so that's a comment I would love to take back. Thank you.
I do want to highlight something in our program or in our presentation, and something that District 7's invested in too, the wrong way driving detection system. And so District 7 was one of the early adopters in the state. We now have 87% saturation on our ramps, and we'll be done next year. Turnpike also is wrapping up in our area, as she presented on there. One thing that's really interesting, we always talk about technology, does it work, right? So right now, statistically, about 84% of the wrong way drivers now with this new system are making the correction in the correction zone, turning around and leaving the interstate system the appropriate way. So before, those would have been vehicles that would have ended up on the interstate going the wrong way. Right now, the interdiction needed by law enforcement, we're down to 6%. So it keeps dropping. And so anyway, it's a good stat, and it's a minor part of the program. It's a very low cost safety improvement, and it's working. So I just wanted to highlight that because it was on her presentation.
Mr. Hall, you're next, but could you put together a slide or two and give us some numbers on that? Maybe shoot it to Dr. Wong so we could see the raw numbers on something like that.
For the wrong way driving?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I just presented to the FTC. That's the only reason why I know it in my head right now.
Good. Thank you. Commissioner Wastl.
First, I just wanted to be the squeaky wheel about the Hillsborough exit. I know you have other priorities, but...
Actually, we are evaluating that. The team is. There's a short-term, mid-term, long-term for that.
Okay.
We did have some conversations with the commissioner in the past, and it is our customers. We when you have 100,000 customers along that corridor, we're trying to make sure we have operational efficiencies along that path.
Yeah,
yes.
and again, that's the veterans problem is Pasco's fault, not Hillsborough County. So just like to re-highlight that. But I did want to on the transit route. I remembered a map about where they envisioned future rail, and I didn't think that the veterans north bound was on that map, was it? I know that the east-west Orlando, but then I thought that their envisioned route for transit was shooting north out of Orlando somewhere.
Well, it wasn't part of the original concept. The original concept for Suncoast was potential shoulder use running, and then of course just transit vehicles operating in the Suncoast. So there was not any conversation ever about a dedicated transit envelope on the Suncoast. So that would be a new conversation. Like that hasn't been had before.
Okay.
Other than maybe like one-off conversations of just someone asking like, hey, can you run a vehicle down the median of Suncoast? But it's never been like a formal studied thing.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll try and find that map. You know which map I'm talking about, Dr. Williams?
Yeah, we have a list in the 2050 LRTP of some of the transit-ready corridors, and you're right, Suncoast Parkway, Veterans Expressway was not on there.
Okay.
The longer distance rail routes were Tampa to Orlando, of course, and then one from Sarasota northbound up to like Citrus, Hernando County, and several smaller like intercity rail lines across Hillsborough. Veterans, again, wasn't one of those.
The only reason I'd ask, because we had just had this conversation at Hart not too long ago. Board member Hartfield might remember because he asked the question, which is what I've long pointed out about East Hillsborough, which is that we just simply won't and likely ever have the density truly to support some type of dense rail like that. And Hart staff had substantiated my statements when we were talking about why we had to remove some of those bus routes. And the reason I point that out is because, you know, Pasco into Hernando, those are going to stay pretty very light density, even compared to Hillsborough's, East Hillsborough. So anyways, good conversation. Thank you.
Board members, other questions? Board member Gray.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. I had a question, and it's probably, it was, the decision I believe was made before I got on this particular board, but there is the plan for a part of the I-75, beginning I think at Barris, going right through the lane to the far right if you're heading south, and I think it goes all the way to West Shore, but the point is it's going right through Seminole Heights. Can you refresh my memory? Is that part of the plan? I don't see it on here, but previous?
Are you talking about just widening I-275?
Widening, yes.
Yeah, it's in the long range plan, but it's not funded, so it's not in this what we're talking about right now.
Okay. I was just wanting some clarity on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Other questions, board members? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Watkins?
Great, yes. Last piece of this presentation, which is your action today on the draft letter of comment that should be before you on the desk. So to just summarize this letter, the first part highlights the investments that DOT is making in partnership with the TPO to fund your priorities. So I'm happy to say every single jurisdiction across many different project types, whether it be transit, a trail, a signal, an intersection improvement, those were all moved forward in this work program. Like Suzanne mentioned, in the next paragraph, the awesome win of getting the Upper Tampa Bay Trail Gap funded. This is about a 3-mile trail gap in northwest Hillsborough County that will connect Peterson Park to Van Dyke. So this is probably the top trail gap, and now it is funded for construction, which is wonderful. The next paragraph commends DOT for its investments on the interstate system through the innovations through the West Shore interchange, as well as the Moving Florida Forward project on the I-4 project that Suzanne mentioned from I-75 to County Line Road. It also acknowledges this board's previous position to want to be consulted once DOT gets closer to making those lane management and tolling strategies. So that request is also integrated. Staff was also, in the next paragraph, wanted to take that CAC feedback, the Citizens Advisory Committee feedback on the Florida Turnpike Enterprise, and continuing to support them to investigate multimodal transportation options. So we were able to integrate that in the draft before you today. Then finally, it acknowledges the disappointment on the Tico streetcar extension, that funding source being removed. and also the disappointment on these major capacity projects that are longstanding high priorities for the board, including that CSX overpass near the port, MLK widenings, as well as State Route 60. So I'm happy to stand for any questions on this letter. The action is for the chair to consider signing it for transmittal to the district, because the due date for those comments is tomorrow.
Are there any questions of Ms. Watkins about the language in the draft?
I don't have a question about the language, but Nicole LaCory, she's the executive director of the Turnpike, so just instead of saying Director LaCory, if we can say Executive Director LaCory. Just refer to her by proper title. She's Executive Director / CEO, so you can refer to her by either CEO or Executive Director.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Board members, are there any other suggestions or questions about the language? If not, is there a motion? I would request.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Myers. Commissioner, would it be acceptable to you to incorporate Mr. Hall's correction of the
Yes.
title? Okay, thank you. And a second by Mr. Joseph. Discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Ms. Watkins. And you'll make that change and, okay, very good. Next, we have a presentation on Unified Planning Work Program, direction on that, and Ms. Caper from our TPO staff is here to report.
Good morning, Sarah Caper, TPO staff. And this morning I'll be your first presentation out of many coming this year on the Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP. So the UPWP is a required document. We are required in state and federal statute to develop it. It documents how we're spending our transportation planning funding. It outlines the major tasks that we do and the money associated with them. So essentially, it's the TPO's planning budget. There are 4 major components of the Unified Planning Work Program that are required of us. One is an introduction. The second is organization and management that talks about how we are set up. The third are the tasks, and you can see here on the table the current tasks in our UPWP, and then finally the budget tables. These tasks are intended to guide how we spend our funding, and the budget tables are associated with each task. So for example, in the current UPWP, there's a transportation planning management task and then a budget table that says what the funding is allocated for that task. As I mentioned, we'll be coming to you multiple times in the next year on the development of the fiscal year 27 to 28 UPWP. So starting with our requested action of you today to solicit planning project ideas, we'll be collecting those after you give us the okay through December. Then we prepare the draft document in January and February. We'll come before the TAC, CAC, and then seek TPO board approval in March of the draft. This is required to send to FDOT by March 15th. We'll get review agency comment back from FDOT and also the federal review agencies like Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. Then in May, we'll come before you again. It's a really tight turnaround from the comments to the May 15th deadline, but we'll come back to you in May for your final approval. We get the final sign-off from those review agencies in June, and it's effective July 1st, 2026, and it goes through for that 2-year planning period. Some examples of the projects that are in the current UPWP and the future one potentially are the required or core planning documents like the long-range plan development, your transportation improvement program, public participation plan. All the things that we have to do are outlined in the UPWP. And then we do other planning projects. This is really what we're soliciting feedback on for the next UPWP. You can see some of the ones here that we're doing in this cycle, such as the Plant City Sun Trail study, the Temple Terrace Multimodal Connection Study, the Bright Line Station Area Study, the HART COA outreach support we did. All of these are things that we describe in our UPWP. And the action of you today that we're requesting is to approve the call for planning projects. This is something new that we are testing out. So after your meeting today, should you approve it, we would send a notice to all of our committee members, also to your agency staff and to you as well, asking for a form to be completed with suggestions for planning project ideas. Then we'll review them against the funding available and this board's priorities, and we'd incorporate them in the draft program. So it gives a little more time for us to get planning project ideas. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Caper. Board members, other questions? Commissioner Wasser?
Thank you. And maybe it's Dr. Wong that has to answer this, I don't know, but, and I'll preface it by saying that I'm not against Brightline. I don't really care if they want to build a train at their own risk, build the train. But we did see the governor line item vetoed unexpectedly, and even their eyes, I believe, that $50 million grant to them. And they are reporting 9-figure quarterly losses right now. And I saw them on that we still have money being spent on a Brightline area study plan.
So in the last UPWP cycle, we had received a request to do a Brightline station area study, which is scheduled to be before you as a completed study next month. The study itself is focused on the station area access. So even if a Brightline station does not manifest, it provides important connections and access in the greater downtown Ybor City area. But that study is nearly complete.
That's a great answer. I just wanted to make sure we weren't dumping money into a black hole, into a sinking ship. So
Yes.
That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hertag?
All I wanted to say was thank you for coming to us earlier. This kind of goes back to what I was just talking about on the last discussion. So I just want to thank your agency, or just the idea of coming forward sooner to get more of these ideas. So great job.
Thank you.
Board members, other questions for Ms. Caper? Okay. If there are no further questions, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Wastel, seconded by Commissioner Cohen. Any discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Ms. Caper.
Thank you.
We have a couple of status updates. The first one is HART, Transit Development Plan 2026 through 2035 Annual Progress Report, and HART Representative Heather Sobush, I believe, is here to explain. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Ross, TPO board members, Dr. Wong. I'm Heather Sobush, Director of Planning and Scheduling for HART, and today I'll be presenting on our Transit Development Plan's Annual Progress Report. So the Transit Development Plan is a multi-year financial and operating plan for a transit agency and is required by the Department of Transportation for us to receive state funding. So our last major update was done in 2022, and then right now we're on our third progress report. Our next major update will be in March of 2027. So the TDP rule requires that the progress report document any accomplishments over the last year compared to the original implementation program. It allows us to make revisions to the implementation program should priorities change. And then it also includes a revised implementation program in a financial plan for the 10th year, as well as a revised list of projects and services needed to meet the goals and objectives. So last year, the FDOT revised the TDP rule. The key changes are that the submittal deadline is moving from September 1 to March 1, and that's to better align with the budget cycle. And then it also requires that we have enhanced collaboration with the TPO to ensure more comprehensive regional transit planning. And we are doing that well already, but there were places in the state that weren't coordinating between MPOs and transit agencies. So I'll highlight some of the accomplishments. We have Route 1. That was a big successful pilot program that was fare-free over the course of this year, and then also more importantly had frequency improvements during the daytime weekday hours. That has resulted in more than 5,000 weekday riders and then 2,500 weekend. Thanks to the City of Tampa, we will be extending the frequency improvements through the next calendar year. It will no longer be fare-free, but it will include frequency improvements in the evenings and weekends. So we would expect those weekend numbers to grow as well as evenings. And then last month, Jesus presented to you on our comprehensive operational analysis, but that's something that we conduct every 5 to 7 years to identify short-term improvements. We did a period of public outreach between September and October, and then in January we'll bring a revised draft recommendations to our board for information, and then in February for a vote. Any changes that are approved would go into effect in June 2026. And then Hart does a really good job of talking to a lot of different audiences. You'll see here that we've talked to a lot of youth audiences through the summer youth presentations and back to school events. We've talked with seniors about hurricane preparedness, and then we've talked with our riders over the last year of how to transition to flamingo fares and about the 2026 proposed service changes that I just spoke to. And then on the capital side, we have our heavy maintenance facility, Phase 1. So Phase 1 is fully funded, and that'll provide the new fleet service facility, security fencing and lighting, stormwater, and then it'll support a future fleet of 250 CNG buses. We do still need quite a bit of additional funding for Phase 2. In terms of needs, the funded needs include maintenance of our existing service and then the Route 1 frequency improvements. And then on the capital side, I just mentioned the heavy maintenance facility. We also have funded replacement of 40-foot diesel buses with CNG, replacement of paratransit and flex vans, streetcar rebuild, and then our new CAD AVL ITS system. In terms of unfunded needs, you'll see here that most of the unfunded needs focus on frequency. As you may recall, a few years ago, many routes were changed from 30-minute to 60-minute frequency. So we still have a goal to return those routes to either 30 or 15-minute frequency. So our next steps are to submit the APR to FDOT by March 1st. Our board approved it last month, so we'll likely be submitting it early. And then we'll continue our coordination with the Hillsborough TPO, DOT, and other agency partners, particularly as it comes to the development of our TDP major update, and then as they start to kick off their next cycle of the long-range transportation plan. And then following submittal to DOT, we will start that TDP major update. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sobush. Board members, other questions? Board Member Gray.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. I had a question, and this may have already been done, but we have a lot of our students using the Hillsborough corridor for bus service, and probably more in the future. Do we have special funding to lower the fares, or is that out of your arena?
We do have discounted student fares.
We do have that. Okay, all right, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions, board members? Thank you very much, Ms. Sobush.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Next, we have a presentation regarding intersection collision avoidance safety program. Angelo Rayo from Kittleson and Associates is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. I can't resist. Every time I have such a pleasant memory of reciting the pledge. My daughters, when they were just young, every single time the older student would lead them, and when they would come to the final line, they would say, with justice for all, and have a good day. So to this day, my daughters, who are grown professional women with children of their own, think the pledge includes and have a good day. So I find that really, really cool.
I liked all of that, except it's the oldest student that leads the pledge. I don't know.
There you go. Well, thank you. I understand I'm going to get some assistance with the slides, so thank you. There we go. Thank you so much. So, Angela Rao, I will be having two hats, myself as a representative of Kittleson and also as a former manager of the traffic operations division for the city of Lakeland. I've retired from that institution. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So obviously, we're going to be talking about red light running. That's really the gist of this presentation. And you'll be hearing a lot of this notion of what can we do as a group, as professionals, to help reduce the crash that's most likely going to happen should someone run a red light. Next slide, please. Can I tell you a little bit about my story and why I got personally involved in this? Well, as the manager, that's the professional reason. The personal reason is that as I was going to work, that's a depiction of my little old Honda Fit that I was in, heading southbound on Massachusetts Avenue at US 92. And I dropped something in my car. I had a red light, so I put my car in park and went to deal with the thing that fell out of my seat and figured, no problem, I got a red light, I'm safe to go. Well, I got a polite beep. Usually when you get a polite beep, that means the green has gone on. And so I got the polite beep, and about a second and a half later, I realized, oh my gosh, I gotta go. So if you can count with me, 1.5, usually I have a second and a half. People give you about a second and a half of a polite beep before they get upset that you're not moving. So count a second and a half, then I move from understanding it's going on. We're at about 2.5 seconds. I put my foot on the brake, hand on the gear shift, going to drive, and ready to go. I'm at about 4.5 seconds now of green time. And so, next slide, please. And so, unbeknownst to me, because I couldn't see because there was a truck to my left, I couldn't see that a truck had whizzed by the intersection westbound. And if you could go to the next slide, please. At about now 5.5 seconds, I go and I luckily slam on the brakes and miss the truck by about 1 meter or about 3 feet. The only reason why I'm at this podium today is because I happen to have gotten my brakes done the week before, a pure brake job on my car. And so I went from a pure acceleration to a dead stop in a matter of, well, a second. In this case, 5.5 seconds. And I thought, oh my gosh, I was all shooken up. Next slide, please. Thank you for your help, by the way. I thought I had to do something about this. I mean, I'm in the business. I'm passionate about safety. Surely there's something we can do. Next slide, please. And I started doing some research. Now, this is 2023 data. At the time, it was 2019. By the way, 2019, it was a time when I could barely spell AI, let alone understand what AI was all about. And realized that even back then, it was about 1,000 persons killed every year, red light running, and about 135,000 in more recent times injured from red light running crashes. My estimates, it's just an estimate, is that in Hillsborough County, that translates to about 10 injuries a week as a result of red light running incidents. That's not an exact number. I did proportions on that, but it's pretty darn close. Anyway, it's 10 too many, let's be honest. Next slide, please. So hopefully the person could help me with these slides. I'm going to show you 3 action slides of actual runs, if you don't mind, please. Go ahead. You can see the red is well on. Yeah. If anybody's old enough, that's what I call a Starsky and Hutch run. I mean, it's kind of a bad joke on a very serious situation, but that goes on all day long. And this one, please, go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you. All red, lots of red. Yeah. What's really interesting about this particular incident, thank you so much, is that, if you could just hold it for a second, notice that the bicyclist dismounted and became a pedestrian. That's cool. That's what you're supposed to do, especially for big intersections like that. Now imagine if any one of those motorists did something different by about, thank you for playing it again, by like a half a second or 1 second, the whole conversation would be completely different, particularly for that pedestrian who's now a pedestrian on that road. So it would have been a horrific experience, obviously. Thank goodness it didn't happen. And furthermore, if that wasn't enough, it wasn't horrific enough to have a serious injury or perhaps even a fatality, think of the non-recurring congestion that would pop out of that. That intersection would be completely shut down for hours. Motorists would be backed up for hours. People would be calling in saying, I'm going to be late for work, I'm going to be late to going home. And not only that, there's a higher probability of secondary crashes. So it's just a bad situation. People get hurt, people get delayed, and more people get into crashes. It's just not what you want to do when you get up to work and get up and go to work. Next slide, please. And this one's a little bit more graphic, full warning. I tried to go easy on you guys, but this is a little bit more graphic. Please be aware. Go ahead. Yellow, red, 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 red. Yeah. So I can assure you that that was mild. Not for them. I'm sure that they could say, Angelo, that's not for me. It wasn't mild. I got hurt that day, so I'm not trying to make light of it. Please, believe me. What I'm getting at is that they all walked away from that crash. And I can assure you that there were significantly more serious crashes happening all the time. Next slide, please. So I don't mean to be too dramatic. It really was a near-death experience for me personally. It's true. I really did feel like I got all shook up. Go ahead, please. And next slide, please. And I started thinking with my team, is there any way that maybe, in my particular case and some of these other cases, could there be any way that we could predict that someone's going to run a red light? Is that feasible? Is that a thing? And so we started to explore that. Go ahead, please. Yeah, could we basically delay the perpendicular traffic from moving forward? They're stopped anyway. It's a red light. They're just minding their own business. They're not going anywhere. So what's another few seconds? Will they even feel it? Anybody Seinfeld fans in the room? I used to be a big Seinfeld fan. Probably still am to this day. Remember it was dubbed the show about nothing? That's what it was called. I call this the safety feature about nothing because you don't even know it happened. It's in the background. It didn't even happen. Those 3 seconds, you won't even notice. Go ahead, please. So we came up with this intersection collision avoidance safety program, or ICASP. And if you just click away, we'll just go quick on this, please. And we'll move quicker, please, on the slides. I really appreciate your support. Go ahead. To prevent the crashes, we predict. Go ahead. Just keep going. Verify, extend, and resume. That's the whole process. That's all we're talking about, just for a few seconds. And if you go ahead, please. In fact, go ahead. We'll pass this slide. It's interesting, but go ahead and just we'll do one at a time. Yes. So basically, sensors to sense the vehicles. Go ahead. A warning to the infrastructure. Oh no, but maybe back. That's a little too fast. Sorry. So warning through the infrastructure system, and then an additional feature that was really, really cool. At least maybe I need to get a life. I find these things to be pretty cool. Is that being in a position where you advise other users, like in-car data sources, your mobile phone, an iPad, pedestrians and bicyclists who have these features with them, that they get a warning of the run about to happen and stay back. So it's pretty cool. Go ahead. We started with 4 intersections, all on state roadways. We worked in collaboration with District 1, great partners. Go ahead. And basically, how does it work? Well, really, really quick. So if you could just click every few seconds, please. Everybody's familiar with the controller in those boxes, those metal boxes at every intersection. So that's the controller that's in there. Go ahead. That's the sensor that I talked about a moment ago. That's the actual system. It's an upgrade from go ahead and play it. It's fine. Go ahead, please. So basically, there's the 3 seconds. It gets alerted, and then we go to green. So basically, all it's saying is, hey, I got one. This motorist is going to run the red light. There's no way they're going to make it. What should we act on it? They do the computer does the computation, figures yes, this is worth doing. The signal is then extended. The all red phase is extended about 2 to 4 seconds. In this case, 3 seconds. And then, like I say, the perpendicular folks don't even know it happened. They finally get their green light. Everything's a go. Go ahead, next slide, please. Is ICASP new? No, not at all. We didn't go rogue or anything like that. Next slide, please. Just keep going. We didn't go rogue because everybody's familiar with the MUTCD. I'm sure you've heard that 1,000 times in this group. I started looking back as far as 2019 at the time. Go back, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The point I'm trying to make here, and you could just go ahead and click on here, is that back when I looked at it from 2012, and the red boxes, please, next, and next, next, and next. Yeah, so there it is. Oh, no, yeah, right there. Duration of red clearance interval may be extended. Detection of a vehicle that is predicted to violate the red signal indication, et cetera, et cetera. So it's exactly what we did. So it's in the books. This is a real thing. We didn't go rogue. We didn't make something up and take some horrible chances. We're just following what's already available to us in the blueprint of the MUTCD. Next slide, please. I'm going to go really quick. These are just examples. You can go next slide, please, of existing, even for bicycle safety, believe it or not, an extension. Go ahead. Next slide. We did, and just click on a couple of sublines here, please. I think there's one more. Yeah, thank you. So we did go to, with the support of District 1, we did go to to TURL. It's the Traffic Engineering Research Lab in Tallahassee. They looked it over. They did a field analysis on their property. They have this cool system to test projects. And they approved it. They said, okay, we're good to go. This works. It's in the manual. You're not doing anything rogue. You're doing anything within reason. So we took a shot at it. And go ahead, next slide. And we'll go through these a little bit quicker. Next point. Yeah, stop on that one if you mind. So has anyone ever been in public service and had an absolute 100% everybody agrees with your proposal? Probably not. There's always something, right, that's maybe slightly off and you don't quite get 100% agreement. We actually got 100% agreement on this thing. In fact, folks said, why don't we do it everywhere? What? It's the only thing I got, which is really interesting. Aren't you actually rewarding bad behavior by doing this? So now if we find out that this is a thing, I can go run a red light, there's extra time, there's nothing to worry about. No, that's not true, because there's still the law. So, law enforcement and red light cameras and all other kinds of interesting elements play a role at minimizing that. And besides, regardless of that, we're saving people's lives by not having them come into the intersection. Next slide, please. And you can go past this one, that's fine. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Very, very quickly, these are just every dot is a car going through the yellow. Next slide. Go ahead. All red, go ahead. And that's the one I really want to talk about, that the perpendicular green is on. So most motorists, as you could see by that, green, yellow, and red, 99.71% of motorists are good motorists. They go through the green, they go through the yellow, and yes, some go through the red. I've gone through the red. I've been driving for over 5 decades. I'm sure I have run red lights. Luckily, within the all red phase. But certainly, we're human, we make mistakes. It happens. Next slide, please. This is the problem. That when not only do you run a red light, you run a red light when the perpendicular green has gone on. Now we're getting concerned, because now a crash could really occur, because now you're in the field of another person's field, and that's not so cool. Look at that. In this particular one little old intersection, almost 50 a day. Go ahead, next slide, please. And you'll see that cumulative, we're talking, multiples of hundreds of red light runs when the opposite green has gone on. That's what makes it even really scary. Next slide, please. We were fortunate enough, we applied for a grant. Go ahead. And we were, go ahead. Just the clicks here. We were awarded a $500,000 grant to further process this project. And we ended up going from 4 intersections to 25 intersections. We're very grateful to the state for funding that for us. So we went from 4, as you can see, to next slide, to 25. And as you can see, only 2 are not on state highways. I can't express the partnership with FDOT. They've been fantastic with us right from the beginning, and really honored to be a partner of the FDOT. This is kind of interesting. Of course, I miss all the fun, right? I had already retired for City of Lakeland, and so in 2024, the city, along with DOT, along with various law enforcement agents, go ahead and click on all of them. Stay on this slide, please. Yeah, stop there. So they went ahead at like 3 in the morning, shut down the intersection, and actually deliberately ran red lights to see if the system did work, and it did, of course. And more importantly, if that, remember I mentioned that a message would be given to other devices like a mobile phone or an iPad or an in-car service, and you get that message, and it worked. At first, when we were first doing it in 2019, oh my gosh, it was like waiting for your pension check. I mean, there was so much latency back in 2019 that it did not work. Now, the latency was almost 0. It's not 0. It is not 0. It's so close to 0. It's really adding up. Next slide, please. So next steps, and you can go ahead and click all points, please, just to speed it up a little bit. So, yeah, there we go. So basically, the next steps are, oh, by the way, COVID unfortunately put a big dent on everything you can imagine, backed things up a little bit. So here we are, back to the future, trying to get it back up again. So the district District 1 and the city are working together to then do after studies, obviously. It's really important to get the data. Before and after crash analysis and near miss data. Very important to get near miss data. You saw the videos, right? Many of them were near misses. That happens all day long, near misses. So that's really important. Next slide, please. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the folks that helped with this. Certainly Stephen Davis from District 1, my successor, Teresa Schwartz from City of Lakeland, and Dan Pressler, who is also stationed at District 1, working with the folks. Next slide, please. I think that's it. I want to follow, if you don't mind, in DOT's lead. I always like to make a message and like to say, courtesy promotes safety. Please give pedestrians and bicyclists a break whenever you can. With that, I'd be interested to take questions, comments. So we talk about costs, for example. We could talk about anything you want to explore, any thoughts that you might have in terms of this. Whatever you wish, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Commissioner Wostel.
Thanks. I'll try to be incredibly brief. And Mr. Rao, did I meet you at the Society of Engineering presentation I gave?
Yes.
Okay, you were
and you're still talking to me? Oh my God.
You were my fellow AI advocate for cyber taxi et al. Okay,
yes,
perfect.
Sir.
And
you
we should do something.
Good memory.
We should move that beyond to just a conversation at some point. But I wanted to talk about, you said the questions that you get, and maybe I'll give you a tool to use to refute about aren't you rewarding bad behavior?
Yes.
Are you aware of a terminology called highway hypnosis?
Only to know the term. I'm not an expert at it.
Highway hypnosis is actually widely assumed to be accurate. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has done numerous studies on it, as well as AAA also confirming it. And highway hypnosis, especially on many of your examples are on state highways, is where the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration suggests that maybe 3/4 almost of their lane miles are where it's a nice, comfortable, long, managed lane of road, and essentially you go into this state of being hypnotized. You're unaware of what's going on, and 3/4 of their lane miles might seem like a lot, but it's their own study, and you basically are just, I believe that I've done it myself, where you just arrive at your destination and you're like, how did I get here? And that's a real thing. So I don't think that it's people being bad. We don't understand how the majority of the human brain works still, and something about driving induces that. And as cars become more safe, and as more elements like this get put into place, I believe it might even promote more of that behavior. But I don't think that it's rewarding bad behavior. It's just addressing a mental state that drivers go into. So I do believe that technology that you're doing and these small, subtle triggers will probably enhance safety. I'm glad that you avoided any serious harm, by the way, in your car wreck.
Thank you.
And I know that there's one city councilman here that has already said we need to find a way. Cyber taxi now, since Councilman Carlson, since we've had that last conversation, they have now said that Florida is going to be one of their next destinations, and we have to do something to make that be the city of Tampa, not St. Petersburg, sorry. It needs to be the city of Tampa, not Miami or Jacksonville, Orlando. They've said they're coming here, and we need to find a way for the engineers and everybody to help us move that ball forward, and I do believe that technology is the only way to make pedestrian safety safer. Sadly, it was just reported that the Dunedin High School student that was hit a couple of weeks ago on his bicycle by another teenage driver. It was the bicyclist's at fault, unfortunately, and he was just reported to pass away, unfortunately, I believe, last night. And we have to find a way in these urban areas, and I believe that self-driving vehicles are the way to do that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Board Member Gray.
And I want to thank you for your presentation. Regarding student safety, we have a lot of our students, unfortunately, being hit, or worse yet, we have buses that have their stop sign and cars go right through. So there's a plethora of problems. But what I wanted to ask is to Justin Hall, what are your thoughts of this, and coming to Member Wastel's point, bringing it to Hillsborough County?
Well, so I'll tell you, I was aware of this. Districts, we all pilot different things. So this was something District 1 piloted, And so we are kind of in the stage of just waiting for the post results. I know Stephen has been talking with our traffic operations, so we're just waiting to see the data. I think it's promising. Everything I've heard has been very positive. It's a pretty low cost implementation. So I would anticipate that if the post data shows what the empirical data so far has shown, that it'll be something that'll be seen across the state. I don't think it's going to be anything that anyone needs to take action on other than we'll just adopt it. So, and I'll tell you, there's a plethora of things that we're looking at for this same issue. So red light running continues to be an issue.
Well, thank you for those remarks, and thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Wong?
Board members, one of the reasons why I asked Angelo to bring this presentation to you is because, number one, the data is very promising. The best thing about this technology is that it is proving effective. The second best aspect of this technology is that it's low cost. Related to the cost of non-AI enabled sensors, these sensors only cost about $5,000 on average above cost of what your local governments are already using. So the margin on those is very, very small. Granted, this technology may not be appropriate or necessary at all intersections. What I would like for this board to think about is, as we're working on the next round of UPWP projects, what planning studies we might need, would be for us to take a look at where it might make sense to implement these. We brought this ICASP to you this month. In a couple months, we'll bring back a traffic signal prioritization study that's showing hundreds of signals across all of Hillsborough County, city, county, state, in need of dire replacement in very short order. And with there being such a small additional cost of implementing this technology, I think we have a real opportunity to make a difference.
Board Member Hartfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Rayo, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
I noticed that you're a professional engineer.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what the square root of -16 is?
Isn't that an imperfect number or something?
Yeah, it's an imaginary number.
Imaginary number.
So
we'll imagine together.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking, as I listen to your presentation, as I put on a different hat other than that of an engineer, you spoke to latency as it relates to being signaled within the car or on a mobile device. If there's an issue with this system, who assumes liability?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question. The best way I could respond, I don't know.
Okay.
Is the honest answer. May I add to that? Would you permit me to add a comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, notwithstanding the fact that I can't answer that question with specifics, I can say that it's that story of if I have a solution, and I mean the royal I, the royal you has a solution, and it's imperfect, and doesn't always solve every problem, every time, every place.
Imagineer.
The square root of -16, exactly. then is it still worth it?
Yeah.
To take the risk on a small risk of liability, I admit, it's imperfect, in the name of trying to help as many folks in our society as we can, particularly in something so senseless.
Right.
I mean, it's so senseless to run a red light and hurt somebody. I mean, there's nothing, you get nothing out of it. You get zero out of it. You're going to just get to the next red light, so it doesn't matter. It's totally senseless. So I look at it that way, that although I can't speak to the liability, I can speak to the fact the greater good seems to be for everyone at large, is my view. And besides, in this particular case, my gosh, would you even know the difference between a 90-second cycle length and a 93-second cycle length? Would you even notice that? I don't think anybody in this room, including professional traffic engineers who've been around as long as I have, would know the difference. You wouldn't even notice it. So even if it was a false positive, that let's say it went on for no good reason, we just got delayed 3 seconds, to me, this is just little old me speaking, it's a small price to pay for the name of overall safety
Okay.
at such a low cost, as Dr. Wong mentioned.
Yeah, I was just playing devil's advocate.
I understand.
I don't want to diminish your vision and your work on this, but
Yes, sir.
just playing devil's advocate.
And it should be noted and respected. Thank you. I appreciate the comment.
Councilmember Carlson and then Mr. Slater.
Yeah, just to respond to some other comments. It seems to me, back to what Commissioner said, the autonomous vehicles, autonomous taxis should be the number one thing that we should be working on. The idea of having a route from downtown to the airport has been resurrected again for like the 20th time, but it's most likely not going to happen because there is no funding and there's not an interest in taking on debt. But if we ran autonomous vehicles, we could do that because it would cut the cost so much. Every time we were early innovators in that years ago. Senator Brandis passed laws at the state to allow us to be, and it makes me so upset to see, what was it, Nashville the other day announced it, all these other cities are announcing it, and we were early, Expressway Authority was an early tester of it, and whatever it is, we need to get ahead of it and also make sure it's not political, that it's just something that we're trying out. The other thing is, and this is going way back, to comments about Brightline. I don't think Brightline's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's misguided to put it in eBoard or even to propose it, put it in eBoard. Thousands of Ubers a day coming in and out of eBoard will absolutely destroy eBoard. It's a dumb location. It needs to go, I know it can't go to the airport because of the deal with Orlando, but it needs to go close to the airport. Otherwise, our airport lost a lot of ground until 2010 with Orlando taking our flights, and we've gained some back in the last 15 years. But if a family can save $100, $200 each by parking in somewhere around downtown and taking Brightline to Orlando Airport, it's going to absolutely destroy our airport, and that will not be a good idea. So that's a conversation for another day. We need to rethink that, I think. Another issue, you talked about the hypnosis. People, everywhere I go, people are on cell phones constantly. I-4, the Selman, driving 70 miles an hour or whatever, and people are using both hands looking at their phone, and I don't know how we can stop that. I know it's a primary offense now, but we need to get people to stop. It's not just hypnosis, but people, I don't know what the numbers are, but I can't imagine people aren't running red lights because they're on their phones too. I think some rear-end collisions are caused because people are on their phones at the red lights. I was leaving Plant High a couple years ago with my kids, and I was pulling out onto McDill, and I couldn't see the left, and I was teaching my kids to wait 2 or 3 seconds, even though people were restless behind me. And just as I was about to leave after the 3 seconds, boom, a truck went barreling. It had been 3 seconds since the light changed. We would have absolutely been dead if we had not paused. And it's the most terrifying thing out there. I think we have to address this. The big question, though, is we know that the public is pushing for AI and automation in all of our signaling throughout the city. I wonder if this could be a part of some other broader system plugged in because it's necessary. And the last thing, maybe you'd want to respond to this, is we know with red light cameras, at least in the first few years, that there was a much higher incident of rear-end collisions because people suddenly stopped because they didn't want a ticket. I wonder if we have to worry about. I've had a lot of friends anecdotally that have been hit in rear-end collisions, and it's devastating for their necks and their backs. I wonder how we can look at this whole ecosystem and stop all of it. Thank you.
Oh, that fabulous comments. I mean, each and every one of them, check mark on all of them. Thank you, Councilmember, for sharing those comments. If I could just speak about the rear-end crashes, no doubt. There's absolute no doubt that because of that indecision, shall we say, with motorists approaching what we call a stale green light, everyone's done it. I've done it. Oh my gosh, should I go? Should I not go? What should I do? So even the hypnosis idea that the commissioner mentioned, we all fall in that, and we have to make a decision of what to do. And so if we want to be law-abiding, we get into the yellow, I'm going to stop. So would the person behind you have the same view, the same opinion? Or will he or she continue thinking you're going to go through the yellow and then obviously create a rear-end crash? No doubt, they go up. We all agree on that. It's still, and I would never, ever, ever, ever say lightly about any injury of any crash of any type, ever. I will say that relative to a T-bone crash at 55 miles per hour, as much as I would hate to say I'd rather have a rear-end crash, it's a horrible thing to say, and forgive me for saying such a comment. Relatively speaking, the difference between a rear-end crash, even though you said people hurt their necks, and they could be laid up for weeks, absolutely, no doubt. Think of the tragedy of a T-bone crash at 55 miles per hour, in my case with a heavy, fully loaded truck, for example, quite serious. So please, I would never, ever, ever underestimate what you said. Please believe me, I really don't. I'm speaking in terms of relative terms. Interestingly, if I may go one more point, there's increasing penetration of advanced driver-assisted technology in vehicles. The penetration rate is now almost exponential, not quite. It's almost at the cusp of, you folks familiar with the S-curve, how systems follow an S-curve? They follow this perfect S-curve. It's right at the inflection point where it will go exponential. So if that happens, which I'm confident it will, in fact, I know it will, that will have an almost immediate positive effect on reduction of crashes, because we're taking the driving experience out of the human brain, which I've made mistakes. My human brain has failed me many times, many times, into the brain of the vehicle. That's unemotional and will act accordingly to what's at hand to it. So already, I think the NHTSA has already reported, perhaps Secretary Hall, you can correct me on this, I think something like an 8% reduction in fatal crashes up to June 30th of this year. I've never, in my 45 years of being in this business, have heard of an 8% reduction in fatal crashes, ever. And my guess, if I was a betting man, I would bet that the vast majority of that is because of advanced driver-assisted technology. I am confident of that. So it's going to be not the partner, it's a partner in the safe systems approach that I think Secretary Hall is a strong proponent of. And I'm sure Dr. Wong is too.
Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you for permitting me to comment that.
We have other questions, but I do want to remind everybody of the time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Board Member Slater.
Just a few quick points to Councilman Carlson's point. The state of Florida passed legislation in 2012 to fully enable autonomous vehicle technology. So certainly some advancements, but certainly would love to see that go a little bit faster. Regarding the liability question, that's why it's important that it's in the MUTCD framework. So as long as it's in that framework, the liability questions are much clearer. And then the last 2 points I'll make is one of the real advantages we're seeing of connected vehicle technology today is the data sources that we didn't have before for things like near misses. So we are looking at some camera analytics along Brandon Parkway as well as Meridian Avenue downtown, understanding the near misses that are happening between vehicles and pedestrians and scooters and bikes and things like that. Gives us a tool that we didn't have before. And then my final point, just to make, we've had some conversations over the last few years in this body about the safe systems approach. And in the safe systems approach, the fundamental core principle in the safe systems approach is the assumption that people are going to do dumb things. And so you assume that they're going to make those choices. So you try and build the system so that it makes that assumption and makes it safer. So thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Joseph.
Thank you. My question is really for Dr. Wong, and it's pretty simple and quick. Dr. Wong, many moons ago, before you were where you are and I was where I am and Vic was where he is, we all sat down and we discussed about the connected vehicle technology coming to the city of Tampa and how it was moving a pace of what was going on in the county. I just wonder whatever happened to that program, how it's developed. I haven't seen Vic in a while. Obviously, I see you all the time, but I haven't heard anything about it since those days.
To my knowledge, that has cooled off a little bit due to industry development. I mean, I've made no qualms about this. I've been the ITS and TSMO planner at the TPO for a number of years, and it seems every year we're hearing it's only 5 years away, it's only 5 years away. At some point in time, that will be true. However, I would defer to Greg and others as to tell me what the latest state of the industry is. They have made a number of developments, but I have not been party to seeing how many new technologies are looking to use Tampa as a pilot.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. I was going to do this under new business, but I mean, we're just talking about this. I appreciate how everyone is talking about stopping cars in intersections. All of this is very important. But I think the biggest problem that we have, and it's been very evident since COVID, and especially talking about what happened this weekend, it's speed. So that's what I want to see AI working on. We need to start driving the speed limit. That's the biggest problem. Personally, I would say like 2 months ago, I started driving the speed limit on roads. Not the interstate, because I don't have a huge death width, but I have never been more afraid as a driver when I drive the speed limit. And I challenge all of you to do it. Because that's the bigger problem. And as we're looking at AI and all of these things to help prevent crashes, those people going through red lights are going 5 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So I'm not quite sure what, but I'll work with Dr. Wong on possibly some sort of study that we can help bring forward. So maybe that's my thing for the UPWP, some sort of study on that. What can we do? How can we use AI, the technology that we have, everything that's coming forward to really focus on speed? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. So, Mr. Rao, thank you very much. A couple of comments real quick. And
Yes.
I heard about your project in Lakeland at a workshop on artificial intelligence that was at the National League of Cities Conference. And they mentioned the city of Lakeland. They didn't mention you by name that I recall, but they did mention this. I've spoken to Dr. Wong. I think I called him from the conference and said, hey, this is really something we need to bring here. I think that technology is our future, and I think that autonomous vehicles and AI and these kinds of things, I think this is a wonderful program. I don't think we can implement this fast enough or wide enough. I think I would be in support of however we can. I think there'll come a day when this is just part of a signalized intersection, that this is just how it always is. The sooner we can make that possible, the better. I really hope that technology focuses on how to drive the cost of this down so that we can put this at intersections without replacing the box, which is what's going to kill us in the cost. If we could get this down to where all we had to do was put up the sensors and there was some kind of a software that overlaid on the existing box so that we're talking a couple $1,000s at an intersection instead of tens of thousands of dollars to replace the box. We could do this all over. And we talked about, well, you know, under the current conditions, we couldn't put it at every intersection. But if you get the cost down low enough, we can. And there are some intersections where it's needed more than others, but if you had it at every intersection, you would just have it. And so I'd love to see that come. So if you could work on driving the cost down, and I think most of us will be supportive of implementing this. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thanks for your
All
time.
right.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, Executive Director's Report. Dr. Wong.
All right, thank you, board members. I'll start with the first bullet, recap of the October 27th board field trip. 2 weeks ago, several of our board members and staff were able to attend the trip to MetroPlan Orlando. We were all able to speak with our peers and understand a little bit better how a multi-county MPO operates. Over the course of the day, we heard presentations from elected officials. Notably, what they emphasized was the spirit of collaboration across the Orlando metro area. We also received some presentations going through the technical details about how the boards and committee are structured, financials, prioritization, and some collaborative regional initiatives that they're working on. I didn't personally feel that the field trip was a sales pitch. I found the MetroPlan officials were mostly forthcoming about the challenges they face, but generally speaking, I think the take-home message for me was that there's a very strong sense of partnership, and that permeates the region. I will include a very high-level summary of the meeting minutes. I attended, as well as many of your peers. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me if you'd like my perspective and some details. Otherwise, I'll include the meeting minutes in next month's packet. Moving down, this Friday, our principals workshop on the merger study will be held at St. Pete College's Collaborative Labs Studio. The workshop will begin at 12:30 and wrap up at 3. We've received a number of RSVPs, but as of Friday, we were lagging behind Pinellas County, most notably. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, please check your calendar and let us know if you can make it. It's not too late. We'd love to have a good turnout. Our next board meeting will be Wednesday, December 10th, and we will be in the second floor boardroom, not this meeting room. That's included as part of your calendar invite. I'm just reminding you now. 2 days after December's regular meeting, on Friday, December 12th, the TMA and SCTPA will meet at THEA for the last meeting of 2025. And finally, this is not on the agenda, we are preparing our board calendar for 2026 right now, and we recently learned that HTV won't be available to cover all of the meetings if we have them at the regular time of second Wednesday of the month. So what we're proposing is to move our dates so that the majority of our regular meetings would fall on the second Monday. October and December will be variations. We'll move those to the third Monday. If we do that, then HTV will be available to cover all our meetings. This room will be available. And we've already looked at your calendars, so we know that there are no conflicts. If anyone has any concerns or reservations about that, please either let me know now or privately, because in December, we'll be finalizing our 2026 calendar.
I have a commitment on Mondays. I will never be able to attend.
Commissioner Cohen?
I want to address two things from your report. I was at the Orlando meeting, although I did have to leave early. As everyone here knows, I'm very much a proponent of taking this very seriously because I think that there's a real need to do this if we're going to make progress on the transit front. I was really not, however, very impressed with the Orlando governance structure, and I didn't particularly think that it applied well to our situation. And because I'm not going to be able to attend the session on the 14th, I wanted to just say today that I want to encourage everybody to stick with the apportionment idea that we put forward originally, which had the port and the airport having their own separate votes by staff, not elected officials, and then a population-based apportionment of the rest of the seats. What I heard in Orlando was that it sounded like it worked really well as long as everybody got along and accommodated each other, and they basically used these other seats for airports and regional players as a way of supplementing local representation, which is exactly what we decided against doing when we discussed this earlier. And that was just a couple of comments I wanted to make about it. I don't know how the city of Tampa people felt about the types of protections that were afforded to local governments based on what they had said. But, I mean, it seems to me that going into this discussion, that's the most important issue that needs to be resolved. And I think the Pasco and Pinellas County commissioners know that, because when our three boards met at the airport a few weeks ago, it was discussed openly that that was something that was going to have to be addressed in order for this to move forward. So I just wanted to say, and then on the Monday thing, Tampa Bay Water always meets the third Monday of the month, and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council meets on the second Monday of the month. So I'm not sure, I mean, that just has to do with me and Commissioner Wustel, but that may be something that ought to be looked at.
I question, what changed here? Because with everybody's schedule, it takes a long time to find this equilibrium where TPOs are Wednesdays and Tampa Bay Water's on. Everybody, council meetings are now commission meetings. To change something has this huge ripple effect. So what changed? Why do we have to change our meeting to accommodate the television people?
I understand, and the reason why HTV is unavailable is a couple of new meetings that they're going to have at this time. So we could stay with the second Wednesday of the month. I understand that works best for everyone's schedule, including mine. The caveat being that we will have at least 2, if not 3 meetings without TV support and no AV support. So they won't be televised.
Commissioner Watson.
May I lean in on this? I would like an opportunity to discuss at the county level what's going on with HTV, and then maybe I can pulse back a response and see what these new meetings are, because this is a federally required board, and it's significant to, I want to understand the prioritization of what other meetings are. So if you could give me that grace, and I'll get back a quick answer to Dr. Wong, and because of Sunshine, he can communicate it to you.
That would be good, because I mean, look around this room. This is not easy to just change from one day to the next. That's not an easy, yeah, just to accommodate, hire more people or whatever you got to do. I don't know, but, so, okay. So, Dr. Wong, you still have was that it?
That is all from me, unless board members have any questions.
Board members, any questions for Dr. Wong before we adjourn? Thank you, everybody. Good meeting. Good to see everybody. Enjoy the cool weather. We will be adjourned.